Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. As-salatu was-salamu ala khatamin nabiyyin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in amma ba'd. فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قال الله تعالى في سورة النساء لن يستنكف المسيح أن يكون عبدا لله ولا الملائكة المقربون ومن يستنكف عن عبادته ويستكبر فسيحشرهم إليه جميعا. Translation: Masiha would never disdain of being a slave of Allah, nor would the angels near to him, and whosoever disdains his worship and is arrogant, he will gather them all together assembled before his majesty. In the Reasons of Revelation, it is mentioned that when the Christians of Najran came to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they said that you are belittling and dishonoring our man. And Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked, "Who is your man?" They said, "Isa alayhi salam." Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked that, "How did I belittle him or dishonored him?" They said that you are saying that he is the slave of Allah and he is the prophet of Allah. This is belittling him and dishonoring him. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that Isa alayhi salam would never disdain to be a slave and prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They said that in our opinion it is so. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent the ayah that we recited today. It is important to understand the concept of abdiyat, or being a slave of Allah. A slave does everything what his masters order. If the master says to sleep, slave will sleep. If the master will say wake up, slave will wake up. If the master will say eat, slave will eat. If the master will say don't eat, the slave will not eat. And similarly 24/7 and 365 days of the year, the slave will only do the things that his master is commanding. So if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls any creature his slave, that is the biggest honor that creature can have. That is the biggest honor for humans and jinns and all the creatures. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala call them their slave, because it means that they are living by the commandments of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is the reason that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is addressing Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in Quran with lots of love, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala call him his slave. For example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says Subhanallazi asra bi abdihi, and similarly he says Tabarakallazi nazzala al-furqana ala abdihi, and he says فَأَوْحَى إِلَىٰ عَبْدِهِ مَا أَوْحَى. All these ayahs, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is calling Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam his abd, his slave. So this is the highest honor any human can get, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls him his slave. And for the highest of the angels, this is also the highest honor and highest position, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls the angels his slaves. If we see that all the creations of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are the slaves of Allah, because they cannot do anything if Allah does not will, and every action they do is controlled by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and without the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala nobody can do anything. But the one who has knowledge and the one who is trying to be the slave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by acting on all the commandments of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is a very high status and very high position. Similarly, someone who is disdaining to be the slave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala due to his arrogance, and he is worshipping someone other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is the most humiliating thing any human can do, and this is the lowest level any human can go, that he would worship anyone other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So let's pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us true understanding of Quran. And oh Allah, please address all of us in the day of judgment as your slaves and abd. Ameen. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.